Hey folks, welcome back to Excel 10-Minute Leaders Live. We're talking about technology, business, and society on this show. This particular episode, we're going to dive into my passion as well, podcasting. That's where we're going today. My name's Graham Brown, all the way from Singapore to San Diego. I'm joined by Hernan Sias in the studio. Hernan, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Graham. I'm excited to be here.
It's great to have you here and somebody with decent audio in this world.
It's funny how
We're
that
not
works.
doing this podcast off the laptop speakers, guys. So I love to hear it. All right, Hernan, we got 10 minutes together. You ready?
Let's do this.
Rock and roll. All right, formality. What does it say on your business card, Hernan?
I'm an educator. I help budding business owners become successful business owners. It's been something that I've I guess progressively been working on for the last almost 20 years and not really knowing it. Got my degree in accounting after my first business venture, did the ultimate up and then crashed and burned. I learned more in a failing business than I ever did in a college education. And I've been taking those same steps that I do every single day, all the mistakes I've made, all the mistakes I learned from other entrepreneurs on my show. And I teach young entrepreneurs the other side, the other opportunity, not just the college route.
Cool. That's a very long business card.
That's a very long business card. My bad.
That's I love
It was written in really small print, both sides.
Fine print. Yeah, you can't fit it all. With all that experience, you can't get it on one business card.
No way.
I want to go into the podcast that you have. I'm going to label this under your superpower, Hernan. So you've done, if I'm correct, over 500 episodes?
Oh, it's been a while since I've updated that bio. We just recorded episode 750 recently.
Well, congratulations, 750. When did you start your podcast?
July of 2018. So this July will be 3 years that we've been in it.
Right.
It's been an amazing ride.
Right. So you've been doing about 5 a week? Have you?
Oh, yeah. Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. This week is actually the first week we ever took an actual long break. So I didn't have any shows scheduled for this week. But other than that, our show, we interview small business owners, people who are in the trenches out there doing the thing. And we book out, 8 weeks in advance. We do a show every single day.
Right. And they come on your show, and your reason for doing this, do they then become contacts, clients, partners?
I mean, do you want a backstory? You want where I'm today or where I was at the beginning? Which one do you want first?
Well, give me the shortened version of either.
All right. I got into podcasting because I had a real estate coach at the time who said, if you want to get more clients, you need to start building your audience base. You need to start growing. You should start a podcast. Around the same time I was introduced to Gary Vee's content, he said the same thing. If you're in business, you should be a media company first, everything else second. So we started this podcast. We committed to doing 5 days a week, and we were going to do it for at least 3 years. And the logic was pretty simple. It was like, who's the best in this industry right now? Oh, Joe Rogan. He's got about 1,000 episodes. If I can do 1,000 episodes, then maybe I can have an audience as big as his. My show will be as good. I'll get better, because episode 1 sucked, man. It just wasn't good. A superpower is something that you can develop. If podcasting is my superpower, it was developed. It wasn't a natural gift.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's the beauty of it as well, isn't it? That you didn't stop before you started. You didn't say, I'm not a perfect podcaster. I don't have a perfect story. Even maybe your voice, you've worked on it, right? So 750 podcast episodes in, you're much, much better at your craft, whether host
100%.
or listening or whatever it may be. But a lot of people think that they look at you and they think, well, I can't do this because look at him. He seems confident. He seems natural. He seems relaxed. What was it like episode 1? Were you confident, natural, relaxed all the way back then?
Absolutely not. I mean, I'll tell you this, when people ask, should I start a podcast? And, I'm absolutely, you should. You absolutely should. You need to create content. That's one form of one hell of a way to create some great content. Everything from long form, chop it up, to create small form. All that is amazing. But then I get down to the reality part, right? And the reality is you need to do it. Even though episode 1 and probably all the way through like episode 20, you're gonna suck. Like just accept the fact that you're not good yet, right? That you're not good yet. Accept the fact that at the beginning, you're trying to have a conversation or you're trying to put together a show, but in your mind, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, did I plug in that wire correctly? Is the live button on? Is it in this? Like, you're thinking so many different things that the actual content that you create isn't very good, right? Especially if you're doing a live show like we were trying to do at that time. So, you will get better. Every day that you record is one that you chalk up, and that one's in your past, right? Leave it posted, show the progression, document how well you're doing. So you can say the same thing I say to people. Go check out episode 1, and you can see the night and day difference from that recording to today.
Yeah, the progression. But you wouldn't get to episode 750 if you hadn't done episode 1. There's no shortcut, right?
Everybody starts
You've
at the
got to
start
get
line.
through it. The cringe factor. You've got to get out there and do it. It's like, do you remember your first ever attempt at driving a car? It's like, oh my God, I'm going to die in this thing. Like, what does this thing do? And now when you drive a car, you're kind of like, you're changing something, you're eating a sandwich, you're looking at your phone, doing all these things at once, and you're still able to drive. And at the beginning, you're like just trying to hang on, not die in this thing. And I think people don't see that, do they? But
you have to
develop
that muscle reflex, right? Like, there's no, when you're driving at the beginning, I know if it was for me, I'm driving, I'm like, ooh, look at that girl. And then all of a sudden the whole car is going in that direction, right? Because your focus is over there. So your attention goes over there. The car goes over there. Well, the same thing is going to happen with almost anything that you do. Now I get in the car and I drive, and I'll arrive at a destination and not even remember what entrance I got on the freeway, where I got off. Like, those things are just second nature.
Flow. That's
flow.
Yeah.
But it came after driving over and over and over again.
Yeah. It's like hitting that tennis ball, right? When you see those guys hitting the tennis ball, it's like they're in flow, those pros. But they went out there and practiced that 10,000 times before they went onto the court and smashed it around, right?
Oh, man. I think it's Malcolm Gladwell or I forgot the name of the author. I think it's Gladwell. Maxwell.
10,000 hours.
He talks about the 10,000 hours in his book Outliers, right? And having that repetition, there's another story I saw on TikTok where, the instructor is going to have one group of people make a pot a day, a clay pot every single day, and another group make the perfect pot. And when you advance later down the semester, the people who are making a pot a day make a beautiful pot. The people who are assigned to just make one pot, like, it's just a blob, it's not very good. Why? Because the practice gets all the kinks out. I'll share a story with your audience. We used to say and mk after every single sentence. Like, it was just part of our speech pattern, and I didn't recognize it or notice it, but my son did. He would say, Dad, when you talk on the microphone, you say this every single time. So my brother and I got this glass jar. You can kind of see it right above my head, that little green glass jar right there. And we gave each other a pile of quarters, and we gave a microphone to that glass jar. And as we're doing the show, anytime he heard me say the word "okay" or a filler after the sentence, you would hear a coin drop. Cling, cling, cling. And we would do that. And it's, you can find it in the episodes. I think it's somewhere between 40 and 60 episodes where we actively worked out some of those things that would bother us, where other people would record the whole thing, spend hours and hours and hours trying to edit it out. We just decided to roll with it and fix it as we went, because nothing's going to stop us or get in the way of us creating more content to try to break out, to try to figure out how this whole thing works. So rather than spend our time trying to pretend it doesn't exist, just hit the problem head on. Just go out there and practice and get better.
You have to approach this with an agile mindset, don't you? That it's not perfect. You've got to get on stage. Very much like comedy. If you're doing stand-up comedy, you look at them practice their material. When you see a comedian on stage and they look like they are mastering the audience in the zone, what you don't see is that comedian went out into those dive bars with the drunks at the back and 3 people in the front row who are shouting and heckling, and practice his material for years. I heard Kevin Hart talking about this is how he does it. He does a year. He goes out to all the dive bars. He could do big stadiums and Netflix specials, but he chooses to do these small gigs so he can practice his material. Then he gets all the feedback, the ching ching, the coins dropping, right? Takes that away. And then what he does in year 2 of his whole project timeline is he then goes to the big stadiums, then takes it to Netflix and the specials, and he looks slick. But people don't see all that. People don't see those moments of truth that you face, and That's the clay pot, right? The fact that he just made a pot every single day rather than, oh, look, how do I get this right before I even start, right? Okay, so you're 7:50 in. What I want you to do is you've got 2 minutes now, Hernan, with the audience to teach them all your experience from 750 podcasts in 2 minutes, right? Look, I'm sure people are listening to this. I want to be like Hernan, right? How do I do this? How do I become that guy doing that thing on podcasts? What could you teach them in the very short time? 2 minutes. Let's go.
Oh man. You know what? The very best thing you can actually do is I'll give you the free stuff, the programs that we use, but the absolute biggest thing that you could possibly do to create content is to physically just go out and create content, like to get comfortable behind the camera, to get comfortable with your voice. Yes, this is the face that you were given at birth. This is the one that you have. There's nothing you can do about it. Yes, this is how you sound to other people. There's nothing you can do about it. You just kind of got to accept it. So before we go into what software engineering, network equipment, all that stuff that you need to use, the very basic thing that you can do is pick up your cell phone. And if you have Instagram or if you have Snapchat or if you have LinkedIn now or Facebook, there is this thing called the story feature. And the cool thing about the story feature is everything you create there is going to disappear in 24 hours. So you can use this to get out of your shell, to start creating micro bits of content, 15 seconds in length a piece, just to go out and try things. And here's the biggest thing that you need to do. When you post it, do not erase it. Let it go through its life cycle. Not for the content itself. Chances are nobody's going to listen to it or watch it anyways. Only the very few people, but that's awesome. That's great because that's you getting better so that when people do listen to you, you've already had the experience. You have the practice. You have the poise. You found your voice. You know exactly how to be animated, to do all these different things. You'll learn how to do filters and tricks. You know what kind of lead type of hooks that you can have at the beginning to grab your audience's attention. And it's all living on your stories. You don't have to worry about looking crazy. You don't have to worry about it. It's living on the internet forever. That's it. It's a story. It's done. It's poof. It's gone. Right? That's my biggest advice, is for you to get over yourself, to get over your own fear, to get over your own limiting belief, because yes, you can do this. The rest of the technology, that's a different ballgame. Go ahead, Graham.
That's awesome, man. Get over yourself.
Get over
I think
yourself.
That's the best advice we've had on this show. Hernan Sias, everybody. Where do we find out more about you and go and check out your podcast?
Absolutely. You can find out more information at businessbros.biz, or you can find me on any social media platform at businessbrospod.
Hernan, thanks for joining us on the show today and sharing those nuggets of wisdom.
Thank you for having me.